Thank you for tuning in to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, where we discuss the latest news, rumors, and games of the NFL and college football. As always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And we are back again today for another episode for you guys. This is episode 197. Man, we're almost there to 200, Anthony.
Very close. Tuesday? Right?
Tuesday? Yeah,
Tuesday.
Yeah, Tuesday. You won't be here for that.
No, I come back on Wednesday. I'll be here for 201.
But I will not be alone for 200. I will not be alone. It looks like a certain former co-host of the show might return on Tuesday. But we are recording this about, 8:20 in the morning here on Wednesday, March 16th. But we had a lot happening yesterday. The Patriots got a whole lot better by re-signing their players, and that is huge. The Patriots just continue to win the offseason. They re-signed Dont'a Hightower, their anchor of their defense last season, the linebacker of this defense. He was huge in that Super Bowl comeback against Atlanta last season in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. But they bring back Dont'a Hightower to a 4-year, $43.5 million deal, and 19 of it is guaranteed. I just got to say, the Patriots, they just continue to win the offseason. They re-signed their linebacker. Stephon Gilmore, the cornerback, probably one of the top free agents, comes to New England. Then they acquired Brandon Cooks. Then they got Coney Ely to help out that defense there. Man, what how did they just get better with just winning Super Bowl? Bill Belichick is pretty much... he's acting like he's trying to win his first instead of his sixth or seventh, whatever.
So, he's got a couple with the Giants back when he was the defensive coordinator, and then he's got 5 with the Patriots as the head coach. With the Dont'a Hightower, cool. He's one of the best players on the team, so, coming back, even if it's at a discount, I get that because you want to stay in a winning organization, right? You can take a little bit more money, but also lose in Buffalo, right? That can happen. You could take a lot more money and lose in Jacksonville. You could take a lot more money and lose in, New Orleans or something like that, right? Just because you're going to make more money, and don't get me wrong, making more money can be great, but if you're miserable while doing it, not exactly the same thing. Also this whole saying, don't mess with happiness. So, Hightower, I get, re-signing their own players, I totally understand that. And even bringing in someone like a Stephon Gilmore because it's wanting to play for the Patriots, right? That there is some mystique in doing that. It's a Brandon Cooks thing, right? That's the whole thing. It's just hold on a second. So you took a guy who had great seasons when he was in New Orleans, given, that'll happen when you have Drew Brees your quarterback. But since he's been in the league, he's been fantastic, and you trade him for a couple of picks. Not even the whole thing when, we're going to trade him for Malcolm Butler. Okay, that kind of makes sense in certain ways. You're getting a player, but also you're giving up a player. Okay, and then the draft picks in there. Okay, fine, I can understand that. Nope, just straight up, you want a first. I was a first and a second or something like that for him, which is a lot, to ask for a player. But still, it's one of those things of just so you got one of the best wide receivers to pair with Brady, because he's getting a little bit older now, and you want to basically maximize everything you can right now, and you got him, and you traded away. Another team basically was yeah, that's fine. I will help add to the Patriots. That part of it I didn't understand at all. Hightower, that's just him in the situation looking around do I really want to move? I don't want to move. There's a lot of things you got to pack. You got to hire all these people. You got to get a U-Haul truck. I don't want to do all that stuff like that. And he just stayed in, New England. So that part I get. Now, having him there, having Malcolm Butler there, having Stephon Gilmore there, having everybody that you have now with that team, God, man, I don't.
Yeah, I know. It's ridiculous.
Look, man, I'm a fan of the Miami Dolphins. And I say all of that to say that for the past, let's just call it 2 decades. Because why not? Let's just round everything out, right? Basically, the only time in that time frame that the Dolphins have won the division is when Tom Brady's knee went boom. And outside of that, every single time they have been the one that has been clubbing teams left, right, and center. Didn't matter whether it was Troy Brown and Deion Branch. Didn't matter if it was Randy Moss and Wes Welker. Didn't matter when it was Gronk and Edelman and Amendola and all them. Just every single time. Brady, just, short dink and dunk passes. Oh, look at them going to the Super Bowl again. And this year doesn't look like it'll be any different.
No, it does not. And
they have a solid chance now, by the way.
I think
basically repeat what they did in the early 2000s, which
honestly,
is 3 and 4 years.
I think they have a chance, not just to do that. I don't know, maybe we can see another 16-0 season. I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. That's really hard to do, especially.
Well, not just that it's hard to do, but one of the main reasons why they did go 16-0. Forget about the fact that Randy Moss was still basically in his prime and Wes Welker was good and Brady was in his prime. Forget about all those things. They were mad, man. They were mad about Spygate. Like, that was the thing where it was just like, oh, you think we cheated? Cool. 16-0, all in your face, scoring 50 points a game, just mad the entire season. That's what this last season was. This last season was the Deflategate, like, we're mad at everybody season, right? That's what this last season was for them. It's hard to, kind of build that up again, unless they just throw another controversy at them. It's like, oh, we have evidence that Bill Belichick, did X, Y, or Z. Now, if that happens and it turns out to be fraud, then 100% I can see 16-0. But you got to have that motivation every week to go out there and basically want to throw it in their face. And, you always want to win games, but the whole 16-0 thing, that'll be hard to replicate.
Yeah, and getting back to Dont'a Hightower here, he actually tested the free agent market. Mm-hmm. He went to visit the Pittsburgh Steelers and the New York Jets. Hightower visited the Steelers this past Tuesday, and then he visit the Jets in New York. The Jets actually offered Hightower a contract, but he withdrew the offer after he left the team's facility, and he just didn't like the culture there in New York. So I actually kind of would have liked to see him with the Steelers. I think he's kind of fits that mold.
Right.
But
you said with the Jets they offered him a contract?
They did. Right? They offered him a contract, and I just didn't think he just wanted to play there.
Well, no, that was probably one of those things. Yeah. It was just like, okay, cool, let's see everything else. And you're from this very structured private school kind of thing, right? That you're just like, oh, okay, cool. So everything's structured. On Mondays we do this, on Tuesdays we do this. It's nice, right? There's kind of a structure to it. There's a hierarchy. Everything kind of flows, and it's great. And then he goes to the Jets, and I just imagine it's that scene in the beginning from Stand and Deliver, where it's just chaos in the classroom and just everything's being thrown around.
How do I reach these kids?
Right.
Yeah.
I imagine something like that. He goes to the Jets, he's like, why is there so much why is that? No, I'm not going here. You're just you go back to the Patriots and it's look, man, I don't know. The Steelers would make sense because Steelers are another one of those well-run franchises, but if you said the Jets offered him a contract, they did the whole thing that the Bills did to Mario Williams a handful of years back. When he went there, it's this is for you. If you leave, we're out. But as long as you stay here, we're going to offer you this contract. And it seemed like Hightower was probably just yeah, you can just you keep that contract. I don't want that from you. But it's a lot of money. I don't want it from you. And this doesn't say the Steelers offered him a contract because the Steelers kind of have the same kind of ideals as the Patriots, which is unless you're elite talent, right? Unless you're oh yeah, no, we gotta have that guy. Most of the time, they just want to keep their own guys or develop their own guys. They'll go after some guys who are kind of lower tier free agents that can help them out, in the system that they're in. But they don't tend to go for the big name splash free agents. They tend to build it themselves, right? The ones that go after the free agent splashes are the Washington team. You got, I guess technically Denver does that a little bit. Houston did that with their quarterback. But mostly it's the bad teams that do that, right? Because they have so much hope that they need to fill with these players. With Hightower now, he's got his money, not a lot of money relatively compared to what I guess he could have gotten probably from the Jets.
Yeah, I think it was.
It doesn't say.
I think it was going to be $12 million a year. I don't know.
$12 million a year, Billy did $12 million a year, so probably this is a 4-year deal that he signed. So, and they not just the money was maybe the same, but the guaranteed money, because you said there was only $19 million guaranteed for Hightower with the Patriots, right? Which is a lot better of a contract for the Patriots if all of a sudden in a year and a half from now he's starting to not be the same player and they want to trade him because that's what the Patriots do. This helps them out doing that.
Yeah, and they continue to win the offseason, and I am talking about New England. And one of the signings I like from the Patriots this offseason it was kind of an underrated deal. It was Rex Burkhead, the running back from Cincinnati. And, Rex Burkhead, you can make the jokes all you want with Rex Burkhead and Patriots.
By the way, it's Burkhead.
Is it Burkhead?
Burkhead.
Oh, okay. You can make the jokes with Burkhead and the Patriots. That's why they're linked to Christian McCaffrey.
Right.
What?
Right.
What? No, I'm kidding. I know what you're saying, but I don't think the Patriots are done. I did talk about on Monday that there's no way Bill Belichick goes into the draft without a first or second round pick. I don't think they're done dealing. Maybe a certain backup quarterback in New England might change that. But I understand all the moves that
there's also
Bill Belichick and the Patriots are doing.
There's also rumors that, because I always said, it's supposed to be Malcolm Butler for Brandon Cooks, right? Well, there's still a possibility that they trade Malcolm Butler to the Saints for something else, right? Which could be a first-round pick or something like that. Like, you could maybe trade him for that. Every day that passes with Garoppolo, I feel like it's less and less likely that he actually will be traded because as much as Tom Brady was the man last year in the second half of the Super Bowl, he's also getting pretty old, and I can imagine the Patriots being like, all right, just like we're going to Aaron Rodgers you, we're just going to kind of hold you for a handful of years, and then once Brady finally shows that slippage or whatever, we're going to insert you into the system, right? Because if he doesn't get traded on draft night, he's not. Like, he's not getting traded, period, end of story, that's it. And they'll keep him for the whole year, and they'll just kind of evaluate it, and if Brady's starting to slip, Belichick's a cold man. He's very cold. He will do this. I think even with Brady, he'll do something like this. So if it's after the draft, I can't see them actually trading him. I think they would just hold on to him at that point and just kind of roll the dice going, probably honestly with another contract for him just to keep him for the next few years to basically run this again and maybe have this whole controversy again in about a year and a half, if Brady's still doing well on the team if they trade him again. If they trade Garoppolo, I should say.
I don't think they're going to trade him. I think if they would have, it would have happened already. And I think the Patriots are going all in because, Tom Brady has said he has at least 5 to 6 good years left in him.
Uh-huh.
But realistically, I think they know it's 2 to 3.
I also say I can dunk. I can't do that. Just because you say things doesn't make it true.
Or you can be like LeVar Ball and saying you can beat Michael Jordan. But,
that's just...
Okay, well, anyways, we'll get back to
It's just a weird thing. Like, why would you say... I understand this is a football podcast. Fine. Why would you say that? Like, I totally understand, like, you love your kids and want your kids to do well, but, like, you're like, I could beat Michael Jordan one-on-one. Okay, now we can't believe you with anything. Now you just lie about stuff. Like, why are you lying? Like, anyways.
Attention, man. Anyways, getting back to this Patriots offseason, I do think that the Patriots are going all in with Tom Brady as a quarterback at 40 years old. I honestly think they know he may not have that much time left.
Yeah.
He's 40 years old. Come on. And you got a really good backup in Jimmy Garoppolo. I think they're going to try to work out a deal with Jimmy G in the offseason or maybe this year before training camp starts. Because realistically, Tom Brady can be one injury away from being done. Or, he can...
One investigation away from being suspended.
Exactly. One investigation away from being suspended.
Right.
I just think they know Tom Brady realistically doesn't have much time left. You can't go into a year with having your quarterback play at 45.
Yeah.
I just don't think realistically though. I never thought Tom Brady would play until that age. I do think he'll probably retire at 42, maybe 41.
Mm-hmm.
So with his age. I think they're going all in with Tom Brady for one last Super Bowl run because this could be it. You never know.
Yeah.
You never know. We didn't think Peyton Manning was going to kind of regress like he did in this final year.
Right.
So I do think that's one of the reasons why they're making all these offseason moves is because they know Tom Brady's time is very limited now.
Oh, yeah. They know that, like you said, 5 years, but maybe 2 or 3 years. And if you can basically be the only team in NFL history to basically do the 3 out of 4 thing twice with the same coach, with the same quarterback. I mean, we already say Tom Brady's the GOAT and Bill Belichick's the GOAT, but if you can do that, man, like it's just one of those things of just like in the salary cap era, it's just like, all right, but you win. Like, we hate you, we don't like you, we want you to lose all the time, but clearly that's never happening. You're the the Emperor from Star Wars. Like, you're the evil Emperor. Like, you win. Like, fine. Like, just go away. That's fine. You're the greatest of all time. We can't say anything at that point.
Yeah, pretty much. We just can't. Well, we're going to stick to the not the NFC. What am I talking about? The AFC East here. And we're going to discuss Darrelle Revis when we get back after the break of the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast.
Tired of searching the vast jungle of podcasts? Now listen close and hear this out. There's a podcast network that covers just about everything that you've been searching. Hey! The Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network is here. Nothing less than a podcast bliss with endless hours of podcast coverage. From news, sports, music, fashion, cooking, entertainment, fantasy, football, and so much more. So stop lurking around and go straight out to the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. Guaranteed to fill that podcast itch. Whatever it may be. Visit us at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Follow us on Facebook and Twitter, and download us on iTunes, SoundCloud, and Google Play.
And welcome back to Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast. Well, yesterday, a judge dismissed all charges against Darrelle Revis, which were from a February altercation in Pittsburgh. And Revis was charged with 2 felony counts of aggravated assault, 1 felony count each of robbery and conspiracy, and a misdemeanor count of terrorist threats. And, there was a TMZ video that was released after this altercation. It showed 2 men unconscious after a brawl. And Revis' attorney said their client was not the person who knocked them out. So, with all the charges cleared, Revis is pretty much good legally. But he was cut from the Jets because he was practically trash last year.
He was no good.
I don't know if there will be a team that will take a chance on him.
They'll take a chance on him.
They're going to have to convert him to safety. Man, Revis is only 31 years old. I actually would like to see him go to the Steelers, actually. That is his hometown team. He said he would love to go there, but would the Steelers be interested in bringing him in? That's just the thing. But I still think that maybe there won't be a team to sign Revis until, probably before training camp starts. But
no, people, I
think there will. I think he will be on the squad in 2017.
People will trade for him, or not trade for him, try and pick him up because he's still Darrelle Revis, right? Like, whether or not he's going to be a cornerback or a safety or whatever, the ego is so high with NFL locker rooms as far as coaches go. Forget about the players, with coaches who can basically say, oh, Darrelle Revis, yeah, the best player, defensively, in the last 15 years when he was at his peak. Oh, I can make him good, or I can convert him into a safety. They totally think they can take, and whether they can or can't, teams are going to believe that, right? It's the whole thing of production, versus value kind of thing like that, right? So if you were great and now you're just okay and you're not, 38 years old, people are like, oh, I can bring him back. And Revis isn't that, right? Now, is Revis young? No. But is Darrelle Revis also the same age as someone like a Tom Brady? No. I think he, given the right situation, can, basically work out for a team because, everything considered, yes, he had a terrible year. No one's going to deny that he had a terrible year. But he's 31 years old, and if you convert into a safety, that's another 5-6 years where you can be a legit player in this NFL. Charles Woodson, Rod Woodson, people have proven that that's what you can do if you want to basically make that your career. Heck, even Deion Sanders later in his career went from prime time to somebody that's just okay, we got to put you back here just to make sure that, you still are a productive player. And, for a team that, I don't think this is what's going to happen, but let's just say, hypothetically, right? A team that already has a good defense, like if he was put in Houston, it's basically just like, all right, we're going to set you over here. Like, we're not going to ask you to be the guy, but we're going to ask you to do something that helps the team out. Like, that could be something that helps revitalize his career, because even though we talk about a lot about how the ego of Revis is so big because of his contract and he basically never wants to, like, not settle for the most amount of money, you could do that when you were the best cornerback in the game. You could be a straight mercenary to every single team and be like, oh, yeah, I'm playing with you guys for the most money you could possibly give me. That's fine when you're the best player in the game. No one's going to argue with you about that, right? You can say, like, oh, he's being greedy. Cool, but he can be. Like, the rules dictate that he is allowed to be greedy because other teams will do it, right? It's a thing of just like, why'd you pay that much for something, for that free agent? Well, because that's kind of what you had to do in order to get him. Now he doesn't have that same luxury. Like, now he's a dude that basically has to figure out what he's going to do, because if he decides to still be stubborn and go the whole Latrell Sprewell route of saying, I have to feed my family, I can't live off of this X amount of $1 million, like, you can do that, but also bye-bye NFL. I don't think he wants to be totally done with the NFL. It's one thing to be greedy and want more money. It's another thing to realize that if you don't take this deal, you might not get another one that's just as good.
Yeah, and I think with all these charges that he doesn't have them anymore.
Right.
But I think that was going to get him in trouble with another team. A team is going to back off. I think they're waiting for the legal process to play out, and now it has played out. All the charges are dropped. I can see a team taking a chance on him any moment now. I think he's going to go to a contender. I would actually like to see him in Oakland, but I don't know where they were playing him at.
Right.
But, these charges got dropped. There was a reason why these charges were no longer on Revis's chest. The judge heard a testimony from one of Revis's childhood friends, who happens to be Rashawn Bolton, who is 31 years old, the same age as Revis. He told the judge he came to Revis's defense during the altercation with the two men in Pennsylvania in February. He punched those men, knocking them out. So he was defending his friend, so they dropped the charges after that testimony. So I wanted to get that out there. But sticking back to the football aspect of this story, I don't think Revis' career isn't done.
Right.
He's only 31 years old.
Sure.
He's not going to go back to Jets because he was just so awful there. I would like him to go to the Steelers. I think he will be great with the Raiders. I actually think he would be. I think Jack Del Rio and Reggie McKenzie. I think those would be two really good men to watch over Darrelle Revis. And, he would help out a lot of that young core of defensive players.
Right.
And I actually would like to see him in Seattle, actually. Arizona. I think he's going to go to a really good contender that already has like a defensive pieces around.
Mm-hmm.
So I can definitely see that happening. But I think I would be surprised if Darrelle Revis is not on the team.
I'd be shocked if he's not on a team, because the thing with everything else, with the legal problems, that's done. Like, that's completely out the door. That they don't have to worry about anymore. Now, all of a sudden, you just worry basically about whether or not your team wants to sign him, right? And short little thing really quick. The buddy of his, Rashawn Bolton. Good for you. Congratulations for you. Good friend. I don't know whether or not you actually did do it or not, or if you were trying to help Darrelle Revis out, but you basically took all of these problems away from Darrelle Revis. Now, I don't know if Bolton's going to get charged as well. That's a little bit more problem if he has to deal with that. But for right now, good friend. Really good friend.
Really, really great friend.
Like Greg Anthony almost, well, not Greg Anthony level good friend, but almost Greg Anthony level friend. Greg Anthony is the former friend, well, probably still friend, honestly, of Barry Bonds that literally went to jail for him in the whole perjury, steroid, trying to prove stuff case, for Bonds for a long time, when they were basically saying, like, you took steroids. No, I didn't. Yes, you did. Prove it. We have your trainer. No, you don't. Yeah, he's going to testify. Good luck with that. And then he didn't say anything, and they basically threw him in jail for contempt, and he was like, okay. Like, that's the best friend. You're going to jail for your friend? I got a lot of friends that I feel would have my back in certain situations. Not that. I'd like to consider myself a good friend. I'm not doing that. No chance. Like, people I'm cool with. I don't want to go to prison. Like, I feel like I can't understate that enough, how little I want to actually go to prison. That does not seem like a good time. That seems like something that's very scary. I have seen shows, documentaries, none of which makes it look like it's a great time. So, yeah, just no. A lot of no. And good for you if it actually, if you actually did it. Good for you for basically manning up and basically saying, yeah, this is my fault. And also good for you if you didn't do anything and you just want to make sure Darrelle Revis doesn't get any more trouble. Good for you either way.
Yeah, that's a very, very good friend. That's all I can say. That was a very underplayed thing that we didn't even talk about until you just said it. But where do you see a best fit for Revis before we get to the break? I did say the Raiders, Steelers, probably the Seahawks, the Cardinals, teams like that.
The best fit for Revis? I don't know, man. I mean, it all depends what you want him to be.
Maybe he goes back to the Patriots?
No. No. Because the Patriots actually have good players in their safety as well, so that's not exactly something that they need. So I would say more because it all depends what you want from him. Like, do you want him to be a cornerback? Because if you want him to be a cornerback, he's probably going to go to a bad team, right? He's probably going to go to, some team like the Bengals or something like that, and they're not going to make the playoffs, but he's going to get his money.
Actually, he'll be his legal situation will be perfect with the Bengals.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
No, but he actually didn't get convicted. He's not Tate Johnson. He's not Pac-Man. He's not people like that. But, I mean, that'd be the situation then. He would go to a team, that's not too good. He would end up going to, I'm trying to think of like a really bad team that he could go to. Like, he'd end up going to the Saints, right? And he'd be like the one guy that's just like, all right, I got to deal with this all on my own. Okay, cool. And then he just gets torched again. And then he gets kicked out of the league. Then we're like, okay, never mind. Bye-bye, Revis. Like, if you have enough bad years back to back to back, okay, yeah, you got to go now.
Yeah, I do think he has a couple of good years left in him. But if he changes the position to safety and plays just as bad as he did this past year, I think he might be kind of done. I just don't see a team taking a chance on him if he plays terrible this year.
Yeah.
All right, we're going to take our last final break, and when we get back, we're going to talk about Latavius Murray signing with the Minnesota Vikings. This news broke late last night when everyone was asleep. So we will discuss that when we get back to the Guns to Me Concepts football podcast.
Are you looking for help for your fantasy football team? Check out the GSMC Fantasy Football Podcast. Get today's best advice on who to start, who to sit, even who you should draft. From sleeper picks to red-hot lineups, they got it all covered for you. That's gsmcpodcast.com/fantasy-football-podcast. We'll cover traditional leagues, dynasty, PPR, even IDP leagues. When you need fantasy help, there's just one show to hit up. Don't forget to like them on Facebook and follow them on Twitter. Visit gsmcpodcast.com for more info.
And welcome back to Going to Me Concepts Football Podcast. And while you guys were sleeping last night, including myself, Latavius Murray signed a 3-year deal with the Minnesota Vikings, and pretty much this is to believe that a return for Adrian Peterson to Minnesota probably isn't going to happen.
Right.
Latavius Murray was pretty good for the Raiders. He did have 12 touchdowns. His rushing numbers did go down a little bit. He only had 788. He went from 266 carries to 195. That was partly due to the rookies behind him and DeAndre Washington and Jalen Richard.
Right.
But I do like the signing for the Vikings. They're kind of shifting to more. They're kind of shifting their offense a little bit. And I'm telling you right now, I've seen what these running backs did for this team in Minnesota last year. Matt Osiato,
no good.
Jerick McKinnon,
No good.
They didn't perform very well.
No.
So Latavius Murray is by far the best running back on this roster right now. And the thing I am very concerned of for Murray is the offensive line. If the Vikings can improve the offensive line this season, I think Murray will have a really good year for the Vikings. And if, Sam Bradford has a running game, I do think this team can be really they can be good.
Right.
We've seen how Bradford played in the beginning of last year. Stephon Diggs emerged on the scene. We think that, he was going. This is going to be a really good team. Sam Bradford. We thought he was going to be pretty good. Remember, this team was 5-0 at one point, and then everything went all downhill from there. But I like this signing from the perspective of the Vikings. Murray is only 27.
Mm-hmm.
He still has at least 3 good years of running back years. Because, when you're 27, you're practically 37. I like the signing, but with this, I can see Adrian Peterson now going to the Raiders because the Raiders obviously have a need at that position now. And he doesn't have to be every down back in Oakland because, they got that depth with those 2 running backs that were rookies last season.
But he'll still be the starter.
He'll still be the starter, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, he still will be. And can you imagine if Adrian Peterson on the 1-yard line, if you're the Raiders, you have Derek Carr, okay, as your quarterback. You got Amari Cooper. You got Michael Crabtree. They're almost trying to get Jared Cook there at tight end. You wouldn't know who to defend, honestly.
No, the Raiders are doing a really good job at this point, just trying to grab players. And who knows? Maybe Adrian Peterson's 100% washed up. Maybe he's not the same dude anymore. But at least on paper, initially, right now, it looks like a move that can help out the offense, right? Because while Murray was the guy that had the touchdowns, right? He wasn't necessarily the guy that was what he used to be. Like I said, not 1,000 yards, stuff like that. Because you had the other guys on the team that can help him out, other guys that can pick up the load if, he was having a bad game. And you can still have that if Peterson's not that guy, but he at least can be the, veteran guy mixed with a guy that people have to respect. And because you're still going to fear Adrian Peterson. I don't care that he had a bad year last year and stuff like that. That's fine. Teams, at least initially, now maybe not by week 4 or 5, but the first couple weeks of the season, they're still going to be like, okay, we're still going to play Adrian Peterson like he's Adrian Peterson because we really don't feel like the first 2 weeks of the season kind of playing off him and all of a sudden, nope, there he goes, 80 yards, gone. They don't want that to happen. So he'll go there, he'll legitimize the running back situation, and then from there you kind of have an entire offensive game plan revolved around got a really good wide receiver, got a pretty good backup, second string or whatever, in Michael Crabtree. You have one of the best new quarterbacks, up-and-coming quarterbacks in the game, and you have a running back who might be the best we've seen in the last 20 years. That all mashed together offensively is really good for the Raiders.
Don't forget, they had 3 Pro Bowl selections on that offensive line last season, and Murray only averaged 4 yards a rush, which I thought was a little disappointing. I think at times Murray looked kind of slow. I think he was very inconsistent. I'm not surprised that the Raiders decided to move on from Murray. And, Derek Carr did say that Murray's skills and pass blocking was really good, and that's a very important skill to have. So I think that's a kind of a bigger loss for the Raiders because of that pass blocking. When you have a quarterback like Derek Carr, you need all the blocking you can get.
Yeah, 100%.
But Murray, I do think that the Vikings they rely heavily on the running game, and I do think it can benefit Murray if Minnesota could improve the offensive line. But as of right now, the Raiders don't have a clear-cut starter at the running back position.
Right.
They can probably bring Jamal Charles there.
Mm-hmm.
Adrian Peterson could be the guy there. I do think Peterson will be the better option of the two because, he is Adrian Peterson.
Yeah.
And I do think he can really do really well with the Raiders' offensive line. So I'm not saying that Peterson's going to be a Pro Bowler in 2017, but I just think he has a chance to improve his numbers from last season, and his numbers were really bad. I think he can definitely average more than 3 yards a carry.
That's the other thing, because you talked about the good offensive line for the Raiders. Like, that's going to help as much as anything else, because that line in Minnesota last year, so bad.
Yeah. And that's why I'm kind of worried for Murray in the way. So that's why this is a good move if the Vikings could improve the offensive line. But, we got Eddie Lacy off the market now, Latavius Murray off the market. And it looks like the two big-name running backs are Ja'Marr Charles and Adrian Peterson, which is not surprising. I kind of felt like their market was going to be a little quiet. I kind of knew Ja'Marr Charles wasn't going to get signed. I think Charles is going to I think he might go on the team for the preseason, and, he has to prove himself in that preseason. And if he doesn't, then I do think he's going to get cut. Adrian Peterson, you can't do that with him. He's just been the best running back that we've seen in a long time. But it remains to be seen. I do think what if the Raiders sign both Charles and Adrian Peterson? Seahawks might sign Ja'Marr Charles too with A.D. Lacy.
See, the thing with Charles, though, I don't trust him as much because he has the ACL stuff, man. Like, that stuff for a running back, like, also he's older too. It's not like he's 23 years old. Like, Charles is older too, and you get the ACL problems. Like, I don't trust him at all, man. Like, you might get him just to, like, see if he's gotten anything and then cut him by week 3. Like, I have no faith in Charles. Like, I hope he does well because at one point he was the Kansas City Chiefs, like all of the Kansas City Chiefs. But ACLs, man, that for a running back, that's like kind of a death blow, and that kind of stinks for him.
Yeah, and I just got to say this. Latavius Murray only went over 100 yards rushing in a game only twice last season. That was with the Raiders' offensive line.
Now he goes to Minnesota.
Yeah, so it remains to be seen how Murray would do. But I am very interested to see how he performs with his new team.
Right.
But I would love to see Adrian Peterson on the Raiders. Mm-hmm. I really do. And that's coming from a 49er fan. So, but that's going to conclude today's show. I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in. I actually won't be here tomorrow. I actually have an appointment to get to. You will be back.
I will be here tomorrow.
Yeah, I'm expecting you to do a good job, Anthony.
I will be fantastic.
I know you will.
So
I know you're here for these jokes.
Oh, you can get these jokes. Oh, that's happening. Oh, 100%. Oh, yeah. Yeah. All the jokes.
All right. I'm looking forward to it. But as always, I'm Jeremiah.
And I'm Anthony.
And I'd like to thank you guys for tuning in to the Goes to Me Concepts Football Podcast.
You've been listening to the Golden State Media Concepts Football Podcast, part of the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network. You can find this show and others like it at www.gsmcpodcast.com. Download our podcast on iTunes, Stitcher, SoundCloud, and Google Play. Just type in GSMC to find all the shows from the Golden State Media Concepts Podcast Network, from movies to music, from sports to entertainment, and even weird news. You can also follow us on Twitter and on Facebook. Thank you, and we hope you have enjoyed today's program.